You're listening to the AFTERBUZZ TV Network, now the largest new media platform on the web, and your #1 source for after-show entertainment.
Very good, Keith. Johnson.
From the AFTERBUZZ Studios in Los Angeles, California, presented by Maria Menounos and Bing.com, and streaming live thanks to Akamai Technologies, this is AFTERBUZZ TV's Revolution After Show. We'll break down tonight's episode and get you all the latest news and gossip. If you'd like to buzz in on tonight's show, you can buzz us at 424-256-1729. That's 424-256-1729. And now, another post-game wrap-up show for your favorite TV show. It's AFTERBUZZ TV's Revolution After Show.
What's up, everybody? Bing is for doing, and we're doing it here live in the AFTERBUZZ Studios for a special episode of NBC's Revolution Recap. But we have a very special guest in the house tonight, Tim Guinee, who plays Ben Matheson himself, who's going to be joining us on the phone live tonight. I'm Derrial, Kristen, and I'm also joined by the lovely
Kristen Snyder. What's up, guys?
What's up, everybody? Tim, are you there?
I am. I'm so happy to be here. What an energetic lead-in you guys have.
Thank you. We tried.
Oh, my God. It's like I drank 7 cups of coffee just listening to that.
That's awesome. You know what? We feel like if we're not having fun, you're not having fun.
Exactly. That's our motto. Well, thank you for joining us, Tim. I'm really excited. Tonight will be our second episode
Third
episode for Revolution. We are really excited about what finds out tonight, and we're definitely excited to have you on the phone with us today.
This is such a high concept show. I mean, I've been waiting for a show like this for television. This is something I feel like film has actually abandoned storytelling for adults, and I'm so happy that we get to be a part of the after show for Revolution, because such a high concept TV show deserves the attention of an after show and a breakdown, and great stars like you to also join us for interviews and provide that content for viewers.
For sure.
Wow, that's just lovely. Thank you.
He's going to be great. I can already tell. I'm already excited here. Well, Tim, you know, we're in L.A., and we know that you are filming in North Carolina. Can you give us and the fans a little bit of background on your set design and what the set looks like and the entire environment there in North Carolina for Revolution?
You know, it's kind of unbelievable. We're shooting in Wilmington, which I think I first shot in Wilmington when Dino De Laurentiis had built a studio there, I guess in the 80s maybe. And it's got this incredible, thriving film community there. And we have the production office is an old factory or a warehouse or something, and it's actually pretty unbelievable. They've built the production office and all the sets and all the costume storage and all the prop storage, and everything is in one big place. And there was even enough room that Jeff Wolf, who's our unbelievable stunt coordinator, they let him build a gym, which is just there for, you know, Billy Burke and him and the stunt guys to practice all the fights that they're delivering every week. But I've never in my life been on a television show where the stunt department had a gym, and I think it's necessary on this show.
Yeah, I actually heard
how much they do.
I actually heard that Jeff Wolf, they had him design an original style of sword fighting specifically for this show.
I think Jeff comes from a big, long martial arts background, and I know they were very interested in making sure that the sword fighting looked new and different, and also was sort of down and dirty. And you know, I think if you look at, I think the militia swords all have kind of brass knuckles built into the hilts of them. And I think the fighting is all very, very kind of down and dirty and ugly and straightforward. And I think he's done a fantastic job with it.
Yes,
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, we talk about the sword fighting actually on the week. Actually, we talk about the majority of the weapons that you use on the show, I think.
Yes, my favorite was last week, the gun that they made for Charlie, sort of out of just like, you know, pieces. We had talked about how guns originally came from bamboo and sort of making parts out of nature. And we just loved how they made that weapon for Charlie last week to use, and it wasn't just a gun.
It weirdly reminded me of the Deer Hunter, of the little, you know, sliding gun that Robert De Niro has in that.
I'm gonna concoct one of those for Halloween, I think.
I think we should all go as like a character from Revolution this year.
I'm planning on a little bit of Charlie in my Charlie influence.
I don't have to do anything. It's fantastic. Just free candy.
Now you mentioned training. I also read something about you had a primitive survival expert. How did that go? What kind of training did they teach you to prepare you for this role?
Well, you know, you just sort of don't really ever know exactly where a role is going to go, and you want to be prepared so you can go there for the writers. And so around the time I got this, I started training at a place called Mountain Scout Survival School with a guy named Shane Hovel, who is, there's a guy named Tom Brown who wrote a very famous book called The Tracker, and Tom is considered by many people to be the foremost tracker in the United States, and he's, you know, law enforcement uses him to find lost kids and fugitives, and anyhow, Shane is on his tracking team, and so, you know, it's kind of everything from how to build a fire when you don't have matches, to how to build a shelter, how to make I don't know, fishing spears. Shane and I actually built what's called a father and son bow, which is a survival hunting bow that I gave the prop department and was actually used in, I can't remember if it's episode 6 or 7, but you know, it's all of that stuff. It's how did you know, people survive until actually really pretty recently. And you know, there are still cultures where a lot of these survival techniques are still in use.
Do you think that you would be, I mean, through this training, I'm kind of jealous that you have this training, and I think that everyone should go. I know they have like Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts, but I don't know that that's enough, especially as I see that this is kind of a precautionary tale to our society, to which we've become so distant from our food supply. I mean, we'd be in a lot of trouble if this were to actually happen.
I mean, I think that whole issue of you know, that we should all be eating locally sourced food, and that, you know, the thing this show points out, which is I think true, is that grocery stores are computer stocked for 2 or 3 days, and after that there's no food. And the way we've set up our food system now, it all gets shipped in from thousands of miles away and on trucks and things. So, you know, I have to say there's also just a part of, you know, I live in a 1840s farmhouse, and I'm a beekeeper, and we make maple syrup and have tomatoes and potatoes and berries and all kinds of things. And there's also, I mean, on a really selfish level, it just all tastes better, you know? And there's a real joy to kind of growing your own food.
No, I absolutely agree with that. So it sounds like you would be A-okay if this were to happen tomorrow.
Yeah, you sound pretty prepared.
Sounds like there's not a huge distance between you and your food supply.
Well, I don't know. I mean, if this happened, you know, we wouldn't be able to talk to our relatives on the phone or our friends. Or it's just, you know, it's a funny thing, because in dealing with with thinking about this and for the last, I don't know what it's been, 5 months or so, it's still just so overwhelming as an idea to me, you know.
Right. I mean, speaking to what you just said, how we wouldn't have communication to our family or friends, after watching like the premiere episode, the pilot, I was speaking with my mom about it the next day, and she was asking how the show went, and I said, Mom, we have a bigger problem. Like, we need to establish a fire escape plan. Like, she's in Pennsylvania, I'm in LA, so we actually developed this plan to meet in Oklahoma. We picked the town, we picked the street, we picked the place, because, you know, this could happen, and it's scary, and I want to be able to, you know, locate my family. So we actually came up with this fire plan because of this precautionary tale. I mean, did you kind of establish any sort of plan with your family members after being part of this show?
I hate my family. No, I didn't. You're very energetic. I think you listen to the lead-in music a lot or something.
I listen to it right before I go to bed.
No, I think that's great, though. I mean, whoever wants anything like this to ever happen, but I don't think it also hurts to, I mean, look, where I live, the power goes out in the winter all the time. So, you think about, well, we should have some extra cans of tuna fish in case the power goes out for, a couple of days or something. And it's just smart to be, a little bit prepared without being crazy. And it's very funny to be like, I've seen those shows. There are these shows on the National Geographic Channel where people stockpile cases and cases.
They do, yeah.
And doomsday preppers, I think they're called.
Right.
And the thing that occurs to me about a situation like the one in this television show is, if anything like that ever did happen, there'd be this world of terrible scarcity, and those people who've stockpiled all this food for so long, it seems to me then become targets of all the people
That's true.
who don't have food. So I don't know. It feels a little to me like hoarders with paranoia. A little bit.
Well, that's actually a great lead to one of the questions I had for you. You were talking about people, if you stocked your food and how it might lead to some type of chaoticness among people. We noticed in last week's episode, there was a particular scene that we were talking about where it was yourself and your wife and young Charlie, and there was a young man who came to try and steal your food in that particular scene. And it seemed like your character had a lot of inner turmoil in regards to fighting back with this guy. Is there something that is within your character that does not want to necessarily pull the card of being an aggressive fighter? Because we also see Charlie a little bit battle with her character of wanting to, think out things before she goes completely physical and uses her crossbow to, become a badass chick.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of Ben and Charlie. I think Charlie has got a lot of her dad and her mom. I mean, obviously in her, but I don't know. I'm kind of fascinated by it. It's funny, a bunch of my I'm in a fire department here, and I have a friend who's a homicide detective in the fire department, and I was just at our monthly business meeting, and he said, "Man, you're such a wimp." I said, "What?" He said, "Why you didn't shoot them? Why your wife shot her?" Well, and that's that's true. And then the other thing is, why my wife killed the guy.
Yeah.
Shoot him in the leg.
Yeah.
She didn't push him. And I think it's really interesting. And I can tell you, people have come at me with various feelings. And I think this is kind of great writing and great editing in that,
for sure.
in that episode. And I don't really know the answer. I don't know. It's interesting because I think in the pilot, 15 years past Blackout, Ben seems to be in a very strong place. He seems like kind of the mayor of that cul-de-sac, and has somehow built a community around himself,
Yeah.
And so I don't know what the transformation is in the 15 years that gets him to that place, but I'm fascinated to see what the writers come up with.
Well, Ben seems to also be key in holding a lot of the information. Are we going to possibly see, at least in this first season, the reveal of what he actually knows, all the information that he has?
I don't fully know the answer to that. I know, especially for the Lost fans, that the producers seem very, very, very interested in answering all the questions that they're posing. And I know kind of the answers on some of that stuff, but I feel a little like an 8-year-old magician who has some secrets he's wandering around the house with that I'm not allowed to say. They're definitely going to answer those. I don't know quite how quickly that's going to come, but I would think relatively quickly. I mean, I feel like they're sort of posing riddles and answering them pretty quickly.
Yeah.
And one of the things I'm really enjoying with the show is I feel like every episode there's a new twist or a new reveal.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I think it's going to keep people guessing, and I think it's fascinating.
And that's what we were kind of speaking about last week as well, that the last episode revealed so much information that we were excited to have that chance to experience that and see it. What would be your if you had the choice between 3 weapons, a crossbow, a sword, and a gun, what would you pick for survival for the show?
A crossbow.
And
why? The one you made?
And before a crossbow, I'd pick a longbow.
Oh, yeah, a longbow.
Yeah, I would. Because a crossbow has, I mean, we're talking real survival. A crossbow has a lot of mechanical stuff that can break. A longbow I can make. And now, thanks to Shane Hobel and Mountain Scout Survival School, if you give me a knife, I can go out and make a bow.
Have you made another one?
Huh?
Have you made another one since the initial one you gave to the show? Like, have you tried to make another one just for your own keepsake?
No, that's the only one so far. I mean, they're fascinating things. Like one of the, and Eric Kripke got very interested in this stuff too. Like the primitive survival stuff. I try and really think about, it in terms of what are the resources available. So, for example, and this is Shane, this wasn't me, in terms of making arrowheads, which, they used to use obsidian, which is essentially volcanic glass. What there is available all over the landscape now is old beer bottles, which is, glass, just like, obsidian, and is pretty easily napped down into an arrowhead. So that's gunpowder is not a thing that is in constant supply. But you can make cordage out of an awful lot of different kinds of bark and vines, and bows you can make easily, and arrows you can make, with a little work fairly easily. So that, to me, is a renewable resource. It also is not it's also quiet compared to a gun. It doesn't require you to... See, I'm also thinking about hunting. I'm not thinking about whacking people. Yeah. Swords require you to get up close to something to eat it, unless you're throwing the sword at it. It's fascinating, though, too. I mean, because I think that this show, and I know Eric Kripke's interest in this is to create this kind of giant adventure. And I think there's a reason why the show is set in 15 years later.
Yeah.
Because the horror of the reality of this is so terrible. But I think we're going to get little pieces of it, and it's interesting because there are different people who, in terms of comments about the show, there's some people who really want to see what goes down right after it, and other people who don't. But I think that, so much of the focus of the show is this kind of Lord of the Rings adventure.
Yeah.
That goes later on.
Yeah, I heard him say, Eric Kripke, in an interview that it's a very long walk. But that, they wanted to tell a story of a society coming together and not falling apart. However, I really enjoy those EpiPens of flashbacks that we get with you and, your family and what happened right after the blackout, because we're all sitting here wanting to see the drama. It's like in human nature to want to see the pain, the suffering, the chaos. That's, of course, what we want to see. And also, we want to see it because if it did happen, we want to know, okay, how can we use this show to help teach us how to deal with this? So I think we're all enjoying those flashback EpiPens, and I'm going to continue to hope to see you in those flashbacks moving forward. I really, that's one of my favorite parts of the show, and how they've been correlating that right in with what's happening in the story. So I think they do a nice job with that.
Thank you. And I think they're smart to do it, because I think it grounds the 15 years later in kind of a recognizable reality for everybody.
Yeah. Well, you're making me want to go get a primitive expert to help me out, like building fires and, make my own bullets and get some training, because if anything ever happens, I feel very unprepared.
We're coming to your farm.
We're coming to your farm.
We'll be like, remember that interview.
I wind up doing this with every part I get. So if I'm playing a seamstress, it's all going to be about sewing in 6 months.
Well, that's good. So tell us
and
a little.
I'll probably forget all of my primitive survival stuff and be really good at using a sewing machine. So, you know.
Well, I know you also have a couple films coming out of Promised Land and Just Like a Woman. Could you give us a little bit of background on your characters in those two particular films?
Yeah, Just Like a Woman is a brilliant Algerian-French director named Rachid Boukareb, who I think he's either won 2 Oscars or been nominated twice, and he's just an extraordinary director. And I play a kind of homicide cop in love with it's a movie in large part about kind of an interface between the Muslim world and the non-Muslim world in Chicago. So I'm a non-Muslim with a cop whose fiance is a Muslim woman, and I haven't seen it yet, but I'm really excited about it. And I'm actually going to Matt Damon's house tomorrow morning to look at Promised Land.
Oh, nice.
Which is Gus Van Sant. And I think it's going to be really interesting. They moved back the release date. I think, so it's available in case anybody likes it enough to nominate it for any of those prizes that come at the beginning of the year. And it's a movie. We shot it in and around Pittsburgh. It's about fracking, the kind of issue of fracking, and I'm really hopeful. I think it's an important movie, and I think it's going to be a good one, probably. And I think Matt's actually really proud of the work everybody did, so I'm looking forward to it.
Well, it sounds like an amazing cast. I look forward to seeing it.
Yeah, do you have any idea when we'll see the coming to or the trailer for that?
Well,
when we can look forward
Promised
to it?
Land has a trailer out now that I know you can see on the interweb, and Just Like a Woman, I don't know. I'm not sure about that one.
Are they both going to be released this year?
Homeland on Sun.
Oh, that's a great show.
We do that recap here as well.
We do that as well. Hey, you might want to call in for that.
I was going to say, we might have to get you on twice in a week.
That's funny.
Hey, so I read something very interesting about you. I'm shooting a documentary right now, actually, on my circus family background, and I heard that you do a little bit of tight-roping, Walker.
I do. What's your circus family background?
Well, my background is my grandfather had a circus in 1907. He traveled up and down the East Coast, and he taught his children how to do trapeze and tight walking, and he actually was on the cover of Billboard magazine in 1907 as Showman of the Year. And so I'm sort of doing a documentary of talking about, the old days and how the grand scheme of things worked. There wasn't films, there wasn't wrestling, there wasn't theater. It was all one big showcase that came to town, and I think there's something to be said for that.
And there was a huge amount of circuses at that time. And, I think movies and particularly television sort of put the nail into the circuses. But, it's interesting in France, for example, it's a sort of national passion. They have a circus festival in Paris once a year, and there are, I think, probably 15 or 20 different circuses in Paris at the same time.
Wow.
And it's really something. Yeah, there's... I train and teach a little bit at a school called Cirque School LA when I'm out there.
Oh, wow.
And, I'm nuts for it. Yeah.
I think we all need to show up and get some lessons.
Yes, I definitely need to come by. I'd love to teach me some things.
Come by Cirque School LA, and they have static trap and tissue and tight wire and acrobatics and contortion and juggling and the whole thing. It's run by a woman who was a Cirque du Soleil performer, and her husband who stage managed the Pickle Family Circus, and it's fantastic.
Did you learn this for a role, or did you just take an interest in it?
I just weirdly took an interest in it, and I have Philippe Petit is a neighbor of mine, and I studied with him, and I went and studied with this wild guy named Jade Kindermartin, who lives near Nîmes in southern France. And Jade is I think he is, somebody else maybe, but he was anyhow, the high wire speed champion. So he sprints on the high wire.
Oh, wow.
Which is
that the goal?
Highway.
Is that the goal for you?
No, I don't have. I have none of that, and I don't have any of Philippe. Philippe is the guy who walked between the World Trade Center, and
wow.
that just makes my hands sweat even to think about. I can't imagine taking that first step. That's just crazy to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can't even imagine looking down. That's just, wow, that's crazy.
Yeah, well, my documentary is about the nature of pursuing one's dream and what that looks like translated to today's society versus the past. So I'm definitely going to come by Circus LA, and I look forward to seeing you there and learning the ropes.
And there may be a future roll calling.
Yes, a future role.
A future role might be calling for this. I think that might be a great next film for you.
It's called One Dream Too Many.
Now, with your films you've played and television credits, you've played so many different roles. What would be something like that is an ultimate role that you would play next? What's your dream role to play?
Wow, that's such a crazy question. Oh my God, I don't even know how to. I've been really lucky with getting. I really love playing very different people and very, Ladder 49, for example, was a great movie to do because I didn't know anything about the fire department, and I got to go and go to a fire academy, and I wound up graduating from the fire academy.
Wow.
And going out with the Baltimore Fire Department and going on runs with them and doing a bunch of interior fires. And, I love things like that and now years later I'm still a fireman because of that movie. I did a movie called Sweet Land about farming and had to learn all this farming stuff and then wound up, living in an old farmhouse. So
wow. So your roles have had a huge influence on your life.
I think they should. Why not? You know? Why not? Because the great thing is when you play different people, you have an opportunity to learn about the things they do, and why not fall in love with those things?
That's true.
I heard you were in Iron Man
That's
as
right.
well.
Just a small film. Just a small film.
Do you have a suit in the closet that you break out every once in a while?
You know what's funny about that movie? And I remember at the first, well, I remember especially on the second movie, but on the first one too. But when you go to have your wardrobe fitting on those movies, I've never experienced this. There's a building with all of the windows blocked out, and there's a security guard, and you have to give him your phone, and you have to walk through a metal detector to make sure you don't have a camera. And it's because they want to keep the suit such a secret.
Wow.
Because I assume they're afraid of somebody ripping them off and selling toys in Korea, or I don't know what it is, but I was like, wow, that's just crazy. It's funny. Jon Favreau was the director on those first two movies, and also on the pilot of Revolution, and he's just a great guy. But I remember on the second Iron Man movie, we were at Andrews Air Force Base, and we were shooting the scene in a hangar, and I remember John sort of had a thought, and he said, it would be great. It'd be great if we could get a stealth bomber. Can we get a stealth bomber in? And we all sort of stopped for 20 minutes or 30 minutes or something, and they flew in a stealth bomber and parked this thing. I was like, it's just, how is he going to go from that to the crazy speed and economy of television?
Yeah.
He did it sort of seamlessly, which was stunning to me.
Does Eric or JJ visit the sets often?
Eric was there through the entire pilot every day. He has not been out lately. I think the mountain of getting these scripts to the place that they get delivered to us at is. I think he's herding enough cats in the writers' room to not mess around with hurting the cats on the set.
Right.
Yeah.
But we talk a lot. We all talk on the phone all the time and get notes from them. And going to have questions for the writers, and it's kind of fantastically open, and much more so than on lots of shows I've been involved in.
Well, we appreciate you taking the time to talk to us. I mean, it's been an absolute pleasure. I feel like we got so much insight on this coming season of Revolution, and we're continuously excited about watching all the future episodes and look forward to seeing your character grow, see what happens next with your character as well. And thank you for taking the time to speak with us.
Yes.
And I hope we weren't too depressing. I hope everybody remembers it's a big rollicking adventure.
No.
Not just an apocalyptic story of doom.
No, I think people will see that it's about a story and a society coming together. I mean, we talked about briefly how in the beginning intro it says re-evolve, and our kind of thoughts on the show is that they turned this off so that society could re-evolve because we're becoming robots, right? And electronic masks, and we're not really communicating with each other, and we're not living our basic needs and instincts, and I agree with the show in that society needs to re-evolve. So I think it's an exciting tale, more so depressing. I get excited every week to watch you and the rest of the cast and the adventure that I feel like I'm going on myself by watching this show.
So glad, and thank you guys so much for supporting the show with your show.
Absolutely. Feel free to call us anytime. I know it's pretty late for you, but we watch the show here in LA when it's on at 10, and then we tape live at 11, which would be...
late for me. I've got to go do some live tweeting again.
Oh, wow.
Oh, great. Yeah, please join us if you're awake. We film live at AFTERBUZZTV.com, and we stream live as we're taping the show, and you can call in, and we'd love to surprise calls from you anytime. I'm sure the fans would as well.
Tim, you're making me pretty jealous. You tweet your own stuff. You're a firefighter. You know how to light a fire. You know how to light fires outside, build weapons. You know how to beekeeper, tightroper. I mean, you're the man. You're like Mr. Universe. I got to learn after you.
I can give you a list of my faults, too. It's just as long.
Well, thank you again. And we also want to remind everyone here, as you're watching tonight's episode and listening on iTunes, please go back to iTunes and rate and comment us so we can continue to build great programs for you. We also definitely listen to all of your comments and watch all of your comments because we want to make sure that the shows continue to entertain you and we're giving you what you want. So, Tim, thank you again. It was an absolute pleasure having you here.
Guys. I really appreciate your time. Have a great day.
You too. And how can the fans contact you? What's your Twitter handle?
Tim Guinee.
Tim Guinee. Okay, great.
Well, we look forward to having you on the show again.
Thank you. I'm happy to do it anytime.
Awesome. Well, I'm Kristen Elizabeth Snyder, and you can find me at Cinematic Escape on Twitter or at cinematicescape.com.
I'm Derrial Christon. You can find me at Derrial Christon or under the same name under Facebook, DerrialChriston. You're watching a special episode for NBC's Revolution. Be sure to tune in tonight as well at 11 p.m. because we're going to recap tonight's episode. So you'll see us double dose today. And thanks again, and we look forward to seeing you.
And thank you, Tim. See you guys.
Have a great night.
From Bing.com, executive producer Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.